This is the Automotive Repair Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Speak Up, Effective Communication, the show on the Automotive Repair Podcast Network focused on elevating our communication and our leadership skills. I am your host, Craig O'Neill, and in our episode today, we're talking about dictation, specifically speech-to-text dictation. This is something I resisted far longer than I should have. But thanks to a rock star project manager and friend at AutoFlow, Callie Schneider, I was guided to give dictation a real try. More specifically, AI voice dictation. You got to throw AI in everything today, I know. And yes, it's me telling you this is okay. I have still many strong opinions on AI, as I know many of you do. But it is a tool in the world. We have to learn to leverage it. And I am learning to use the tool of voice dictation. This is not the voice dictation that you have tried before, not the one on your phone that turns every sentence into a small adventure of misinterpretation. I mean AI-powered voice dictation, and specifically how using it's changed the way I work in ways I totally did not expect. Not only did it change how I work, but it's actually stretched my speaking skills across the board, making me far more aware of the outputs of my most casual speech when my guard is down. At the end of this episode, I think you're going to want to try some of the things that I'm talking about here today, and I will have a link for you to try out the program that I use for free. Before you say it, yes, I know you've tried speech to text before. It gets things wrong. It felt weird. You went back to typing. Look, I hear you, but if I can overcome my presuppositions on this, I think you probably can too. And before we get into it, let's go to our word of the day. Our word of the day today is visceral, and we'll define that word for you after we hear a word from our sponsors who make this show possible. Your partner in technology, AutoFlow is able to enhance your client interactions before, during, and after the visit from a single thread. To see how AutoFlow makes it simple, visit autoflow.com. Your trusted companion, ShopDog Marketing, is right by your side, attracting the best customers and building long-term growth. Call ShopDog Marketing today or visit shopdogmarketing.com. Supercharge your auto shop with Inbound, AI-powered communication analytics and phone service for your professional shops. Visit callinbound.com. Want a more profitable shop? Start with your service advisor. They are the face of your business, the voice on the phone, and the key to every approved repair. ServiceAdvisorTraining.com is dedicated to giving them the tools and training they deserve. All right, we are back, and our word of the day is visceral. That's V-I-S-C-E-R-A-L. That is an adjective. Visceral means felt deeply and instinctively, rather than through intellectual reasoning. When something is visceral, it hits you in the gut before your brain has time to process it. I always think of this word as like you're feeling it in your gut. And I picked this word today because the experience of switching to AI voice dictation is visceral in two directions. The discomfort at the start is visceral. You're going to feel it. And at the moment it clicks and you realize you just captured 3 paragraphs of clear, coherent thought without touching a keyboard, that's visceral too. And fun note for any of you listening who already use Willow Voice, that's the tool I use, Willow Voice, for dictation. When I was preparing for today's episode, I was mumbling not very clearly in front of the microphone, and I said the word visceral out loud, and it came out on the screen as something else entirely, which was delightfully on the nose for the point that I'm making on dictation here in a little bit more of an ironic way. But hey, it's not perfect, but it is a far cry better than what we've seen in the world before. And I want to start with that resistance that I felt to this, because up front, I felt decent reasons, good ones. I type okay and pretty accurate. I'm already fairly efficient. I make arguments that I really don't need it. I don't think it's going to make any real significant impact on me. When I have tried dictation before, like many of you, I just found it super frustrating. It's obnoxiously frustrating. And I think a lot of you will relate to this, that, look, talking out loud to your computer when there's another person even remotely nearby feels a little ridiculous. And that's how I feel. Like, I see people walking around even with their phone dictating, and that's also ridiculous. It feels like eavesdropping on half of a conversation when all you used to hear before was the nice click, click, click of the keyboard. And I like my clicky keyboard. So in my case, my office companions are usually my family members, because I do work from home, as does all of our remote team at AutoFlow. And those office companions are often my teenage daughters. And let's just say they have not let the commentary slide. It's endearing. The teasing that I endure really is mostly the good-natured that it is. But look, keep an open mind. What comes out from dictation surprised me. And I want to talk some more about a few of these revelations. And here's the first thing that I figured out. I used to believe that I write like I talk, or I type like I talk, that my written communication matched my spoken voice. And I was wrong. When I type, I filter, I edit. As I go, I'm editing. And I second guess word choices. I fix sentences before I even finish them. And all of that filtering slows down not just the typing, it slows down the thinking. When I speak, dictate, the ideas come out completely unfiltered, unpolished, unedited. And for creative work, creating podcast episodes, for any work where you're actually trying to think through something, you cannot overstate how important that is when you can just get the idea out, even not very clearly. The thought connections I make when I'm speaking and dictating come out a lot more naturally, and that logic assembles itself in real time in a way that typing simply does not. And I want to give you something else here as well, because I think this has a lot of weight in this conversation. Just looking at statistics, because it's a program, it's measuring it, it's tracking things. Over a 6-day streak with Willow Voice, that's again my dictation tool, Willow Voice, I produced 36,733 words. A fairly average week, I'm finding, actually on the slightly lower end, interestingly. But I dictate at 148 words per minute in this recent streak. I type at 52 words per minute. And before you judge me on my typing speed, that's high accuracy. Willow's app actually calculated my time saved at 322 minutes. That's using an industry average, I believe, of 40 words per minute as a baseline for typing. But because I actually type a little faster than their assumed average, my real time saved is going to be closer to the 458 minutes, almost 7.6 hours, the way I did the math anyways, which maybe isn't always the best. But look, anywhere around 7 hours, which is either of those numbers, let's just call it a full day of work. That's pretty significant when you think about the time saved for outputs like this. And here's the thing. I do think that Willow reports conservatively on the time saving number. And I think that for a very specific reason, when you dictate, you actually do produce more words than you would have if you had typed those words instead. You speak more thoroughly than you type. So the gap that Willow reports, it may be accounted for this, because what you actually save is probably even wider than the math suggests as far as what I'm seeing. In either case, it's not a rounding error. It's like a whole workday being added into your output capabilities. That's why I felt strong enough to bring this out into a podcast topic and strongly encourage you out there, especially my friends in the automotive world, but truly all of my professional friends in all industries and walks of life. This is a tremendous time to be able to start getting good at dictating. All the time I spend in my inbox and emails, it's far more efficient. I'm getting more done. And this is a good use of it. And they're my words. They are my words. It isn't just pasting a bunch of junk in and having AI write something for you. They're my words. It might just be polished a little bit and I don't have to worry about spelling or typos. As long as it gets the names right, it's really effective for saving time. And I have to encourage more of you to engage it this way. Time is a precious commodity. I feel the strain of it all the time. I want to say how I got started with this too. It came as the recommendation from my friend Callie Schneider, who I mentioned earlier. And he also is really good with app development. That's where he was using it a great deal, is in his prompt sessions as he's developing an app. And initially, that's how I started using it too. I started using Dictation for the prompt sessions with AI. I use Claude, and I'm using Willow Voice inside of Claude to do the prompting for research, for app development, for working through ideas, for the initial drafts I create of these podcasts, as I always have to get my ideas out first before I sit down and actually hit record. I talked about this in an AutoFlow webinar already, where Chris recommended a book, and I think he did an episode with Karm on this very topic as well very recently. The book was by Jeff Woods. That's Jeff, the G-Way, Geoff, Jeff Woods. He wrote a book called The AI-Driven Leader. And in there, he has this idea of using AI as a thought partner. And Dictation makes that pairing, that use of AI as a thought partner, dramatically more effective. It might be worth deeper dive on this podcast to go into that. I don't want to go into it too much on this. I just want to focus on Dictation today. But that prompt session element is why I found it useful. And when I started speaking responses instead of typing them, that's when I also experienced a shift in what I realized was occurring here. I wasn't using it initially in emails or team chats or all the other things that I did. I initially was just using it in prompt sessions with AI, but it started to feel more like a conversation when I did that. And yeah, this is me telling you that, the one who's had some very early episodes on of concerns about AI, and I still carry those concerns very closely. But when it felt more like a conversation, I was getting better thinking out of myself. Let that sink in a little bit, because the same quality of insight I'd get from talking through an idea with another person was starting to come out in prompt sessions. And that's also why when it comes to LLMs and other things, a lot of people say, yeah, I try to turn off all the things where it tries to humanize itself or anything else. You maybe want to reconsider that, because if you want to have a robotic conversation with a robot, you're going to have robotic outputs and robotic ideas. And I think that's probably the mistake that a lot of people are making right now. Don't do that. Let it feel like a conversation, because the idea is you're getting your words, your thoughts, your creativity out into more coherent ideas, and you're logging them. And it's really cool. And I know that sounds strange, but I'd encourage a lot of you to try it before you judge it. There is a reason that the interview format with AI, when you get it to ask you questions that you will not have thought of on your own, that's like, okay, this is good. I'm now arriving at higher order thinking, I feel like, with a number of topics. It challenges me to think about the topics more deeply than I might have on my own. And that's where I realized that talking is where some of our best thinking lives. And any of you who, if you're like me, you enjoy sitting in a meeting, in idea and brainstorming sessions. I love it, because the ideas bounce off of each other. You get a random thought and a random word and you speak it, and then it gets taken and it gets built on by another person. It's still the best thing in the world, but we don't always have those people around us. So those prompt sessions, I was able to experience this as well. And look, this has shifted some of my former opinions on the large language models, the LLMs. I'm not a fan of AI in very many regards. I think it's getting abused in a number of ways and used too heavily in others. But I can no longer deny the effectiveness it has for research and for drawing out my own thoughts and creativity when I use it as a thought partner. That's on AI. It's time for today's Suck Less Spotlight from AutoFlow. Today's spotlight is on advisor eye twitches. Listen, clients like to stay informed throughout the repair process, and studies indicate clients are most satisfied receiving text updates versus phone calls. But call you they will, interrupting everything from estimating to quality conversations and your game of solitaire. That is, unless you text them first using AutoFlow. With AutoFlow's automated text updates, your phone only rings for the right reasons. That way, with less phone interruptions, your eye twitch will definitely suck less. For this and more things that could suck less, visit autoflow.com. Looking to drive more customers to your auto repair shop? Trust ShopDog Marketing to be your reliable companion with AI-powered customer-first marketing, websites, and high-ranking local search. Maximize your reach with our mobile-first and voice search expertise. Car counts are like ice cream. Sweeten your revenue with ShopDog Marketing. Grab our free guide to learn how AI can drive more repair orders every day. Don't miss out on this chance to boost your business visit shopdogmarketing.com. Inbound has exclusively served independent auto repair shops with expert communication solutions for years. Our robust VoIP platform ensures you stay connected while our industry-leading AI analytics take your business to the next level. We provide the tools you need to understand your customers and optimize every interaction. Choose Inbound for proven expertise and unmatched innovation. Visit callinbound.com and discover the difference we can make. What if you knew exactly what to say to the price shopper, the upset customer, the person who says they cannot afford it? Every day, service advisors lose customers not because of bad service, but because of the wrong words at the wrong moment. Words That Work is a free phone scripts playbook built for auto service professionals. Every script includes the reasoning behind it, so you understand not just what to say, but why it works. Grab your free copy at serviceadvisortraining.com. Let's go to dictation with people to people. This one surprised me in a totally different way. I work with a remote team, and look, we get busy. I get busy. I'm bouncing between lots of things all day. A quick typed response, especially in chat, sometimes have a flatness to them. We've talked about digital communication in other episodes as well. But look, you start loading on the explanation points and emojis and GIFs just to put some of the warmth back into the message. But what I've noticed is when I'm dictating instead, the little quips come out a little faster. The wit lands before the internal editor can cut it. The message sounds more like me because it's me. And in a real example, though, I was preparing for the recording segment of this episode, and I had to add some notes on this because Bridget from our AutoFlow team was messaging me. And this is 7:50 p.m. Eastern time in the evening, by the way, which tells you something about the kind of team we have. Bridget's a hard worker. I mentioned what I was working on and asked her what her time saved looked like in Willow. We provide that for our employees to be able to use. And she admitted she had not been using it much that week, which probably means ever because she hasn't picked up the tool very much at all. And she needs to do that. Absolutely, Bridget, you need to do that. But what I'll point out, it means that Bridget's going to be learning something on this. We had a brief little chat dialogue on here. And what she said in our little talk, just through our Google Hangouts, it stuck with me and I had to add some of it in here. She said that she can tell when I'm dictating because my chat responses got longer. More complete, I hope, is what that means, not just verbose, but a few sentences instead of a quick word. And this is the phrase that we have a good-natured humor on our team. But she said, and I'm paraphrasing slightly here, yeah, I noticed you don't angry type anymore. And look, it's not angry. And they know that, I think, most of the time. Do they? I don't know. Maybe they don't. But when you're task switching, you're busy, a terse typed response is what comes out. All of us are guilty of it, I think. I'm just hoping you all are too, so I feel like I'm in good company. But hey, with Willow, I hit the hotkey on my keyboard. Boop, bloop. It's starting to record, and I speak a clean thought, and it's done. Faster than typing and warmer than anything that I would have pecked out in a hurry. So Bridget also suggested something else too. She suggested I go back through the chat history and compare pre-Willow dictation to how I was typing before. And I noticed it very clearly. It was obvious. And if you want a case study in what dictation does for remote team communication, your own chat history is probably sitting right there. So Willow's help in another way, it involves settings that you can tweak it to do some things. That's the AI element of some of this stuff. You can have it add warmth or formality. It asks you questions about if you're using your typing is more for prompting AI or for professional dialogue or whatever else. Or so software developers would want to turn on a little bit of a different mode for speaking code. But that'll help get the kind of output you want. I keep mine as natural as possible, but the option's there if you want to dial it in. The bottom line is that I really do feel like when you're a remote team, it's a risky thing sometimes when you get comfortable with some of the short, flat, emotionless communication. And you have to really snap out of that. Dictation is just a really good way. I've noticed a change in how I'm interacting because it's fast and efficient and I can still get my actual warmth behind a full statement instead of a short, quick type out, right? Now, I want to name the hard part here because glossing over just wouldn't be very helpful at all. at first, and let me be very clear on this, your output's going to be rambly. It is going to be too long, too verbose. You will say things in circles. You will not be as concise as you would have been in a typed response. And that's normal. You're going to have to go through that. Don't let that be like, oh, I can't do this type of a scenario. It's not a flaw in the tool. That is you learning a new mode of communication. And here's the part I find interesting. The process of getting better at dictation makes you a better speaker, more clear and direct in your spoken output habitually. When you're doing that all day, instead of the sort of cerebral tendencies we'll have to type and clarify our language, you have to do that faster when you're speaking. And so it's a stretch of that skill up front. You're going to notice when you're in that casual mode of speak, you're going to start to notice filler words. I did. AI is nice. It will help filter some of those out for you, but you become more aware that you're speaking them. At least many of us Toastmasters in the room will feel that. You become more deliberate over time, though, with your phrasing. You begin to say what you mean the first time instead of wandering toward it. You don't always have to hit send after you dictate the message. You still have control over that. Sometimes you'll say what you didn't want to say or shouldn't have. No, you'll have fun with this, though. Those revelations, I think, are something all of you will enjoy going through. You come in for efficiency. You're sold on that idea, but you actually do walk out a better communicator. That's a pretty good deal. I also want to address what makes AI dictation a little bit different here. And for those of you that have any frustration on this topic of voice dictation, if you've tried voice dictation before on your phone and your browser through a basic speech to text feature, or it'll drive you crazy. Here's what you're dealing with. Standard dictation tools don't understand context. They do not learn your vocabulary. They do not recover gracefully from ambiguity. And they absolutely don't know the word you just said as if it's a technical term, a proper name, or an industry phrase. AI dictation tools solve for this in ways that are really kind of impressive. You can teach it your vocabulary, specific names of team members, especially the spelling for specific ones. It's a little bit troublesome. I have some friends named Kevin, that's Keven, and I have other colleagues named Kevin with Kevin. That one's going to continue to need manual input until it can really get the context. I don't know how that'll ever happen. But look, industry language, in particular technical terms, I do believe that's going to get better and better and better, and the accuracy improvement is already significant. When it comes to will of voice, it also has a really cool feature. And when I hold down my hotkey, I can speak my meeting link shortcut. And when I say that phrase and I'm holding that hotkey, it spits out my calendar link where people can make appointments with me. And I have to use that link all the time. I'm constantly having to go grab it, copy, paste it, or keep it somewhere handy. Now I just speak it and lands right on the page, right where I want it. It's wonderful. That's a shortcut. And I'm thinking of the service advisors on this. If you create a few verbal shortcuts with an app like this, wow, some of those common phrases that we have to use, your mind is probably already turning like, oh man, I use this phrase all the time. I say this all the time. Or here's our business hours, right? In my business hours shortcut, boom, there it is, typed out. You'll never have to go and find it to copy paste it again. You speak it in 2 seconds and you're done. It's just that easy. When you're texting customers, responses back and forth, having the will of voice, you just click into the cursor field you want the text to land in. Boom, it's there. This is a massive efficiency tool. And that's another piece on it too, is like just getting random thoughts or random ideas. I keep a scratch pad typically on a screen, and you can just pop the cursor on that, speak a note, and you don't even need to click in it to put it in a document. You can just speak a note and it'll be in Willow Voice's log, and then you can go and copy it and grab it later and find it by search of a keyword that you spoke. So there's lots of cool things about this. And yeah, even a funny joke you have and you wanted to tell it into the microphone, fine, go ahead and do it. Some of my jokes are funny sometimes, and now I actually get to keep them. All of those are some good strategies for this. Now, the way I'm actually using it these days, again, is when I'm working through projects with AI. It's mapping out an outline, scoping out an app, building a framework, dictating the entire session. What used to take 3 hours, and that takes closer to 1. And the time saving compounds, largely because the quality of my output improves too. It's just that easy. Emails, by the way, I speak them. largely now. Then I polish them, usually by myself. I'm not a big fan of AI polish. It just never quite gets me. I still like my phraseology a lot better. I'm stubborn like that, but I'm still retaining speed of AI assistance by just having my spoken word get the whole thought process out better. And then it's the long form drafts. And that's a key workflow that's changed how I produce these episodes, especially in these last few months. I speak freely since I'm going to be speaking it anyway. That is the way I have to actually be writing it too. It makes a lot of sense. And the initial draft, I'll never record those. I get a mess. My thoughts don't come out typically in the order that I'm going to be presenting them, and I have to get them out first. Then I can do the outline and make it work. But the beauty of it this way, and this is so key, is like, oh yeah, you're using AI to help with drafts of that. It's like, yeah, what comes back is still my words in my own voice. It's in coherent form now. That's the benefit of it. It's not someone else's words, not a generic summary, my words, organized. I cannot type my ideas as fast as they come through my own voice. Typing causes me to lose those ideas, usually in the editing, self-editing that I do in that process. Dictating instead gets them out before that internal editor has a chance to ruin it. And writing speeches. I'm a Toastmaster, member of almost 7 years now, and I've been writing speeches the hard way for 6.5 of those years. So it's taken me longer than I would like to admit to realize that speaking a speech is considerably easier than writing one. And you already know how it sounds when you say it out loud, but that is the version that's worth keeping. And I already covered this with the Bridget story, but worth naming on its own is dictating your chat responses to team, whether you're Slack or Google or Microsoft, whatever you're in, when you're on a remote team or working with team members who are remote. It's just a low effort way to bring more warmth into those messages. Now, I kind of hit on this already too, but I'm going to make this point again. And this is probably the most important thing I would start teaching students in schools too, that are, yes, writing essays. I think dictation is something that ought to be taught as much as cursive still needs to be taught, and handwriting skills need to be taught, and typing skills still need to be taught. It's another tool in the arsenal of this. I've watched my daughters very recently struggling with their CER essays for high school. One of my daughters really loves them, the other one not quite so much. But wow, the structured format they make people do and highlight those things, it's like it's killing the desire to write. I'm watching it happen. And like sometimes it's really fun to make a claim, give the evidence, and establish your reasoning. CER essays, there they are for you, if you didn't know what that acronym was. But look, I remember when I was writing this stuff way back, when I first do a draft, man, I struggled with rough drafts. When I write, I'm editing constantly, simultaneously the whole time through. I don't like putting out the rough draft. I feel awful putting out the rough draft. That's my analytical brain. And it's always at war with my creative brain. And they're fighting for the keyboard. And that creative brain, usually the one that loses. The ideas that are fresh and ready to land, they don't even get a chance to make it on the page. And it's deeply frustrating. I think that that's actually where a lot of the frustration that people had writing essays in school really probably wrestled with exactly that thing. The ideas are there if you read the book and did the study, right? The ideas are there, but it's slow getting it out through our fingertips. It is. Unless you become a really great typer, you're slowing down that part of your brain. So where's this going? I've talked a lot about dictation now here for a little bit. Kind of an exciting topic. I hope you're excited about it too. I do want to zoom out on it here though a little bit. The future that I see it of digital vehicle inspections, a part of the industry that I work in very good, and service advisor workflows, shop management software in general. The future is running through voice. I know it will be. And speaking notes into an inspection and having them flow directly into where the digital inspection line item notes, this is something that's imminent in our lives. Speaking to an AI agent built into your shop management system to build out an estimate. These things are becoming total reality. So the shops and advisors who are already comfortable interfacing through voice are going to have a significant head start into this very, very near future. And the ones who waited because it felt awkward, well, you'll still get there. But you'll get there just a little bit later, maybe without a little polish and practice and the dictation skills that I think the new era is going to warrant. Look, we have always interfaced with people, the oral traditions that came out of ancient history and to the stories in the Bible and everything else. These stories were initially oral. and that's retained orally. And a lot of people who remember better by listening, I don't. I remember better by reading. Like, the voice matters. Since that's been an interface forever, we're out now at a point where we can actually interface with our software in the same way. And that's technologically thrilling. It's not a gimmick. It's a true shift in how we're getting work done in this way. Do I think that it will cause typing skills to atrophy? Yes. In as much as I believe that cursive and handwriting skills are already lacking, I still handwrite notes. I keep my remarkable tablet here at my desk all the time when I'm in meetings, and I deliberately, to help retain with my own memory, will write the things that I hear people saying, because I know that writing it through my fingertips is engaging different parts of my brain to help remember those notes. I know I'm getting a cognitive benefit through that even typing doesn't do. So keeping some of the slow old ways alive while leveraging the new, that's just a part of this balance that we are all going to have to find as we move through this AI era together. So get the teasing over with now. Talk to your computer. Let your teenager give you a hard time about it. It's okay. They're not so tough. Push through the rambly phrase. Train your dictionary. Set up your shortcuts. Speak your emails. And then look at your word count at the end of the week. I think you're going to be amazed with how much more you have done. All right. Now that's the episode. And thanks for spending time with me on this. Speak Up Effective Communication on the Automotive Repair Podcast Network. If this episode made you think about giving AI voice dictation a real try, I would love to hear how it goes, what app you're using. Reach out to me. Let me know. You can reach out to us here at speakup@craigoneil.net. That's ONEILL.net. And if you're already using it and you've got a strategy and I didn't mention it today, definitely reach out. I want to hear it. All right. We appreciate hearing also from you on anything that helps. And I want to remind you, go ahead and get the app, the Automotive Repair Podcast Network app at arpn.app, and listen up to all of the shows on our network. We have Remarkable Results Radio with Carm Capriato, Diagnosing the Aftermarket A through Z with Matt Fonslow, Business by the Numbers with Hunt Demarest, the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast with Brian and Kim Walker, the Weekly Blitz with Coach Chris Cotton. And once again, thank you so much to our sponsors at AutoFlow, Shop Dog Marketing, Inbound, and ServiceAdvisorTraining.com. We appreciate you for bringing this episode to our loyal listeners. And thank you, our loyal listeners, for being there with us. Now get out there, listen up, speak up, dictate more.
You've been listening to Speak Up, Effective Communication with Craig O'Neill on the Automotive Repair Podcast Network. Download our exclusive podcast app at automotiverepairpodcastnetwork.com, because the best conversations in the industry start here. Check the show notes for Craig's YouTube channel and email. Let him know what topics you'd like him to speak up about.